Woohoo! All right, we are cooking with gas. We're recording. So let's go ahead and get started. This will be as interactive as it needs to be. Oh, I got the wrong camera on. Hold on. That's what I did. I'm staring at the wrong camera. All right, let's fix this. Camera. That camera is a better camera. Perfect. All right. And my microphone needs to be a tad higher. Perfect. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you? Well, we'll pretend you responded. You might be on mute.
I'm good. Sorry. I thought I was on mute and I was just like, okay, am I on mute?
No problem.
I'm good.
No
How
problem.
are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you. Raina, how are you?
Good.
Well, good. And I believe that we have, is it Madavi? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, correct.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm glad to have all of you here, and I am going to get started on this one. So this topic is on lead generation in the changing market, and this market is absolutely changing. I presented on this topic back in June, at the end of June at LAR, and got a lot of really good feedback and a lot of people who couldn't make it. And so I wanted to re-present it. I've added a little bit of content, but a lot of it is the same as what I had presented last month at LAR. So let's go ahead and dive in and go cover what I want to cover. So the first thing is to click the button. All right, what are we going to cover? So I'm going to cover kind of the state of the current market. What is happening right now? Where's the economy? Where's it going? And what's that really have to do with buyers and sellers and what they're thinking? Talk about the 5 markets and specifically what I see as the 5 tiers of markets that you can sell to and really where we should be looking to generate leads from. And then we're going to talk about who's left that needs to buy. A lot of people have already bought, and where's our focus going to be? Because fishing in the wrong pond is what I think a lot of people are doing, and it's creating a lot of frustration because we're trying to find leads, we're trying to find business in a particular group, and we're saying, man, there's no business out there to be had. Well, the truth is that there is business to be had, but sometimes it takes just you finding the right place to go chase the business. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. And then I'm going to spend a majority of our time talking about how do we reach those people? How do we get the people who do need to buy and have not bought yet? And how do we get them to buy now? So that's a big part of what I'm going to spend a lot of time on. So I'm going to dive in and go ahead and get started. I want to cover 2 things: state of the current market and kind of how did we get here? And then what are consumers thinking? So I'm going to start with some charts and some numbers just to give you a little bit of background on how I look at things. This is inflation. And this is inflation going back to 1985. And the truth is this chart just doesn't go back further, but inflation was a whole lot worse in the 70s. It got under control in the early 80s. And what you notice is basically inflation, the number you hear, the number, oh my gosh, inflation's at 9.1%. It is. Like it's highest it's been in 40 years. But what does that really mean? It means how much have prices gone up each month compared to last month, cumulative over the last 12 months. So it's simply saying, hey, if it costs $1 a year ago to buy a loaf of bread, I know I'm using crazy numbers here, but it cost $1 to buy a loaf of bread a year ago. And then in August of last year, it went from $1 to $1.10. That's a 10% increase. That's huge. That's in 1 month. Now, what we're really talking about is maybe a 0.5% per month increase, and it becomes what's been a 9% increase or 0.75% increase per month. This is what everybody looks at as inflation goes up and down and up and down. And everybody says, okay, I'm just waiting for prices to come back down. Like right here, they're like, oh man, did prices come back down? No, the truth is this is the reality of inflation. Prices continue to go up. When inflation is flat, it simply means that when that price of bread went from $1 to $1.10, and then a year later, it's still $1.10, then there's been 0 inflation. If it went back down to $1, that would be called deflation. And the only time we had deflation in the last 40 years was a little bit in 2010. So here's the bad news. Prices don't come back down. And everybody is freaking out about inflation, and it's appropriate to be concerned about it. And it's actually a little scarier to think about it this way, which is this is where prices came back down a little bit. But for the most part, year over year, prices don't come down. We're seeing a huge increase right now. So you're saying, John, where's the good news? The good news is right here, which is your earnings compared to inflation. So what this chart looks at is this chart looks at the same inflation numbers we saw on the prior chart in blue, but I'm sorry, in red, but in blue, we are seeing earnings per hour for the average American. So when it costs $1 to buy a loaf of bread, you earned $10 an hour. When it cost $2 to buy a loaf of bread, you were earning $20 an hour. Now, that's not an exact science. I'm not giving you the exact math. I'm giving you the theory that people are worried, oh my gosh, there's no way everybody can afford to pay these prices. But the truth is, the red line, the blue line being our wages, for the last 10 years, the blue line has been at or above the red one. We've actually, our wages have gone up more than inflation has gone up. It's only in the last year that we've seen a disconnect where inflation has gone up more than our wages. And that's happened in the past, and then it comes back down. So we're never going to see prices come back down. We're just not. That's not how things work. But now technology does create deflation. It decreases the cost of goods. You see that in whether it be the automotive revolution and Henry Ford saying, hey, it costs so much money to make a vehicle, but I created an assembly line and it significantly decreased the cost of that vehicle. So that is deflationary, but big picture, by the way, the big picture, you're going to see goods and services continue to go up in price, but you also see our wages continue to go up. And so really, when people are worried about inflation, you have to ground it in reality and say, look, that's just how the economy works. We just happen to have a little bit higher than normal inflation right now, but this has happened in the past. In 2008, the same thing happened where we had a big disconnect and then it came back down. And so this is a normal progression. Here's what I want to point out, because a lot of people are freaking out right now. A lot of home buyers or potential buyers are really concerned about nobody can afford monthly payments. Nobody can afford to buy a home right now. But this chart looks at the monthly mortgage payment as a percentage of your income. So we saw incomes rising significantly. If I go back here, we see incomes, this blue line, continuing to go up, and the mortgage payments have gone down. We've seen significant decrease in mortgage payments compared to income. So when we hit the peak right before the Great Recession, we had the highest percent of your mortgage payment as a percentage of your income. It's come down significantly. We're up some, but the truth is we're still below where we were previously. Now, the big picture going forward, yes, these are reflective of people who did their loans last year. There's a lot of people who have super low interest rates, but the fact of the matter is we're nowhere near the numbers we were last year. It's not an issue of, hey, we're going to see a whole bunch of foreclosures because people can't afford their home. Because everybody who bought prior to 6 months ago is part of this group right here. That is super low percentage of their mortgage payment as a percentage of their income. So we're not going to see a crash by a bunch of people that can't afford their payment. That affordability issue is a problem, very much a problem for new buyers that want to buy. But it is not a problem that's going to cause a housing market crash, because the people who have bought over the last 10 years have a significant amount of equity. Their payment is really, really low compared to their income. And I am, I won't say sure, I am expecting, that's a good word. I'm expecting us to be heading into a recession within the next 12 to 18 months. Now, recessions concern people because you're going to see unemployment, and you are. But you're going to see unemployment maybe at the worst hit 11%. Historically, that's been the worst, that 11% of the people who want to work cannot. Right now, we're at around 3.5%, I think, of the people who want to work that can't find work. So you still have 89% of the population fully employed. Even when we hit a recession, even when unemployment goes up, it's not a matter of, oh my gosh, that's going to lead to a foreclosure crisis. The foreclosure crisis happened in 2007 to 2010 because people had adjustable rate mortgages and their payment went up and they couldn't refinance. The majority of people in today's market, that is not the case. So I don't foresee a huge glutton of people foreclosing on their homes like we saw before. So let's continue along here. The challenge, obviously, we've got other expenses. We've got household debt. The truth is we're in the same place, because I had somebody ask me, yeah, John, that's great that you've got mortgage payment as a percentage of income, but we're spending more money on other things. The truth is we're still way below 2007, 2008 levels. So we're still in a much more affordable position. Again, this is for people who have already bought their home. The people who are going to buy, that's their biggest concern. But the second biggest concern is what happens to prices during a recession? Because I don't want to buy a home and then end up losing all of my equity in that home by having the home price fall immediately. And what you see is each of these gray bars are recessions. And the median home price of homes across the country during recessions stayed the same or went up, stayed the same or went up, except for the Great Recession. This is the only recession in the last 45, 50 years where we saw housing prices drop. The difference is this is the one that everybody's thinking about. This is the one that all of today's buyers, their parents, their grandparents, their aunts and their uncles lost a home or lost all of their equity in the Great Recession in 2008. But the reality is that's not likely to happen again because we have all fixed rate mortgages right now. We have low percentage of household income being spent on your mortgage payment. This recession was caused by bad mortgages. So just an explanation there. And the reason why I go into that is as we're looking at lead generation, we've got to have some talking points to talk to people about what is their real concern. Because without covering what their real concern is, they're going to think that we're just selling them on buying a home so we can make a commission. And that is the furthest from the truth. So I want to give you the ammunition that you need so that you can explain to people that isn't what is likely to happen. Nobody can predict the future. But given all the statistics, what happened in 07 to 09 is not likely to repeat. Yes, we see a huge run up in prices right now, but historically, we have seen prices continue to move up. And even when there's a large run up and a drop, they come back up again. The other thing I'll tell you is if you look at this chart, there has never been a 10-year period in history where housing prices were lower from the beginning of that 10-year period to the end. So if we were to take even the peak of the market right here in about 2007, and we fast forward to even 2015, 2016 right here, prices were higher 10 years later. What does that mean? What that means is if we were to look at prior performance, now if you listen to any commercials for financial planners, they always tell you prior performance does not predict future expectations, but it's a good way to look at what the averages are, okay? And if you look at prior history, if you plan on staying in a home long-term, you're going to be okay. Even if we have a major pullback that nobody expects, I don't expect, the people I'm listening to don't expect a pullback like we saw in 2007, 2009. But even if we did, as long as you have a time horizon that says, hey, I could stick this out likely for 10 years, you're going to be in better shape than where you started. And during this 10-year period, you had a fixed monthly payment compared with your rent payment that's going to keep going up. You were paying down equity, you were gaining equity by paying down your balance, I should say, and you're getting a tax write-off. If you had waited, you would have lost that 10 years of tax write-offs and of getting 10 years closer to paying off your mortgage. So I always tell people, it really, as long as you expect to be in the housing market for 5 years minimum, 10 years in this house, I should say, for 5 years minimum to 10 years ideally, you're in good shape, even if the market does take a correction. Now, if I'm talking to somebody today and they say, hey, John, I'm being relocated in 2 years, and I need to know that I can sell this house 2 years from now. First of all, I can't predict the future, but I'm certainly less inclined to say, oh my gosh, you'll be fine. I'm not so sure. Like, I don't know what the next couple of years have in store. We're going to see a lot of volatility. We've seen a lot of volatility in the last 2 years. And I think we're going to see a lot of volatility over the next couple of years. I don't think we're going to see a crash, but I do think that if there's going to be a pullback, we're going to see it in the near term. And then we're going to see a recovery once the recession sets in and interest rates go down. Okay. So that's my explanation of kind of the market, what's happening and how we got to where we were at, and really addressing how people are feeling. Does anybody have any questions about any of that before I jump into the 5 markets that we need to be thinking about targeting as we go forward with our lead generation efforts? Nope. All right. So the 5 markets, as I look at it, are land and lots, luxury, second homes and investment properties, move-up buyers, and then entry-level or first-time home buyers. So I explain them in this order on purpose, because the land and lot market is very speculative. You're buying land, you're buying a lot, you want to build on it in the future. I will tell you that it is, to me, the first market that goes away in a downward economy, in a worsening economy. People are not speculating on, hey, let's build that perfect dream home. Hey, let's go get that vacation, that lot in Tahoe and build on it in the next 5 years. People are pulling back their thinking a little bit. And so land and lots are a market that I'm concerned we're going to start seeing a lot more pullback of buyers. And I've already been seeing less buyer interest or activity in that market. The second tier market is luxury homes. What's funny is I've actually seen a lot of activity in luxury homes. I've seen a lot of demand on luxury homes recently, but that is a market where somebody says, you know what, hey, we're in a recession. I have a house and it's, a $600,000 home and it's just fine. And I'm not sure if I want to sell that one and buy the $2 million property. Even if I can't afford it today, we're heading into an unknown territory with this economy, and I don't want to put myself out there. So I think over time, we're going to see more and more that luxury market erode a little bit more. And it's not, to me, the market we want to be chasing. Now, if you're a luxury market agent and that's what you're chasing and it's working for you, I'm not trying to talk you out of it. But what I'm telling you is, based on the research I've done, that market tends to go away second as things tighten up. And in some areas, I've definitely seen it stay super strong. In other geographic areas, I've heard about it becoming very weak already. The third market is second homes and investment properties. Again, if you're worried about your income, you're worried about your money, are you going to go buy a vacation home? Most likely not. You're also going to consider, maybe I shouldn't go buy this investment property because I don't want to stretch myself too thin. So again, those markets tend to start going away. These last two markets are where they typically don't go away, even in a rougher economy, even in a rougher housing market. Specifically, when we talk about move-up buyers, there's two types of move-up buyers. There's the ones that want to and the ones that have to. Now, the ones that have to is, the newlyweds that bought a 2-bedroom, 1-bath 4 years ago, and now they're about to have their third kid. Really hard to raise a family of 5 in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. You have to move up. The have to move ups aren't going anywhere. Let me say that in a different way. They need to buy. So that is a great opportunity, a great market to chase, because no matter what's happening with the housing market, the truth is they need to make a move. So as long as they have the means to do it, they're going to make that move. The like to move up isn't the same. That person saying, hey, I'd like to buy a bigger home. I've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's my wife and I and 2 kids. Well, you fit. There's ideally, you want to have an office at home. Ideally, you'd like to have an extra bathroom, but you might scale back a little bit in a market like this and say, I'm not so sure. So I would definitely pay attention to, are you chasing and are you talking to someone that's a have to move up or a want to move up, and understand the motivation. It doesn't mean you should kick the people to the curb that want to move up, but it means that don't hold them so tight, because the chances are they may or may not make a decision to make a move in this market because they don't have to. But the other market that I think stays super strong through, and I've been doing this for 22 years, I've seen highs and lows. I was successful in 2007 to 2010, and it was a lot of paying attention to this kind of stuff. Where I really honed my business focus in those years was on entry first-time home buyers, because they're not in the market. And this is a great opportunity for them to get into it, because as we look at it, and I'll explain to you in a couple of minutes why, there is a big challenge over the last couple of years for those people to get into the market. And that challenge is going to reappear in the next few years when things get back to normal. So let's talk about this in a little bit more depth. Those first-time home buyers, specifically those with little or no down payments. So here's the challenge. For the last 2 years, really from 2020 and 2021, it was such a huge tilt towards the seller. So many people were trying to buy so few homes that sellers never considered closing cost credits. That was laughable when I brought it up. Sellers really didn't want to pay attention to anybody that was using down payment assistance, and really didn't want to pay attention to anybody who had a small down payment. because those people couldn't compete with the appraisal contingency waivers with somebody willing to offer $30,000 over the appraised value. That person didn't have the money to even compete there. So sellers had no need to entertain that kind of a buyer when they had buyers that were offering them $50,000 above the appraised value, and they had the cash to support that. And so these people could not buy over the last 2 years. And I believe that the only thing that we've accomplished recently to make this market back to a balanced market is that demand has come down. This is a simple supply and demand equation. And you have supply has been super low since 2008 because builders stopped building in 2008. They didn't start building again until 2015. And then they built pretty strong from 2015 through 2021. But in early 2022, builders started slowing down. Now, I'm not speaking locally. I haven't actually talked to any builders locally, but I know nationally builders are making it super clear. They don't want to be stuck with inventory. A builder has to sell the home as soon as it's finished. And with rates where they're at and buyer appetite waning, builders are saying, you know what? I'm going to wait and not build more homes right now because I can't afford to be stuck holding those homes. So we're not fixing our supply issue. The only difference is we had super high demand when rates were low, and now demand has dropped. But as soon as rates go back down some, demand is coming back up, supply will not move. That means that we're going to have another market where you're going to have more people wanting to buy homes than there are homes for sale. And those first-time home buyers with little or no down payment are going to be out in the cold again. This is their perfect opportunity. To me, those are the people we have to be chasing. When we think about lead generation in this market, those are the people that are number one on my radar that I'm trying to chase and that I'm trying to help my partners chase as well, because those are the people that they have a short window to buy. And the reality is, if rates do drop in a year or 2 or 3, they can refinance and capitalize on that. If rates don't drop, guess what? Their rent would have continued to go up. And instead they get to be a homeowner and have a fixed monthly payment with a tax deduction. It really is a win-win either way. The challenge for the last couple of years for the people who were moving up or downsizing is that those people couldn't afford 2 payments. So they had to sell their current home first and buy another home, but they didn't want to risk being homeless. And it was super difficult to get a contingent offer accepted. So anybody who owned a home that wanted to move up or to downsize was really stuck over the last couple of years. Not anybody, but a lot of them. We're now in a market where those people are getting their offers accepted a lot. I'm actually hearing from agents a lot of contingent offers that are out there right now where they've got an acceptance on it and they're waiting for the other person to get their offer accepted, which is what I would expect to see in this market. So we need to educate our prior clients. We need to educate our friends and family to say, hey, if you were thinking about selling your current home and buying another one, this is the absolute best time to do it. And it's even easier to justify it for them than the first-time home buyer. Because the first-time home buyer is going to say, look, John, if I wait 6 months, I think housing prices are going to drop by 10%. I don't know if that's true or not. And so, sure, you could try and time the market and wait 6 months and home prices will drop 10%, but who knows where interest rates are going to be at that time. I personally believe interest rates are really driving home buyer appetite. And so if prices are going to drop even more, it's going to be because interest rates went up. So did you really save any money by waiting 6 months to buy when interest rates are even higher? But I can see that argument. I can understand where they're coming from. The person who has a home to sell, I don't see that argument. If prices drop 10% in the next 6 months, guess what? The price of the home you're selling dropped 10% as well. You're already on the elevator. So whether the elevator goes up or the elevator goes down, whether you're on this elevator or the elevator next door that's the bigger or smaller house, the truth is you're on the elevator. And so when you watch prices go up or down, the price of the home you're selling is going up and down as well. So there is no benefit to waiting and trying to time the market. If you have a home to sell, to buy a smaller or bigger home, now is absolutely the right time to be doing that. And that's a really, really important message that we've got to get out there when we're talking about lead generation and talking to potential buyers is if you have a home to sell, this is the reason why now is the time to make that happen. So the real question is, how do we reach them? And that's what I want to spend the rest of this time talking about is how do we get in front of those people and how do we get them to do business with us? Before I go any further, does anybody have any questions? By the way, feel free to use chat if you don't want to post your questions up on the screen, or if you don't want to, shall I say, if you don't want to unmute yourself, feel free to use chat and post your questions, and I can answer them that way as well. But let me make sure I got the chat window up here. Why am I not seeing the chat window? Here we go. I was writing my chat window. Cool, I got my chat window. Nobody's chatted anything, but if you do have questions, feel free to post them into chat, or you can unmute me when I ask about questions and I'll make sure to cover them at that time. All right, perfect. So now I got to do one more thing to fix that. So my handy dandy little button thing shows up again. Give me one moment, annotate. Cool, there's my little floater. Okay, perfect. So we're going to talk about how to market to past clients and how to market to new clients. So let's dive in. First of all, marketing to past clients. People who already know you, like you, and trust you. A lot of marketing that people look at is how do I get my name out there? And I think that's okay, but I think it's a little bit one-sided because all you're doing is basically you're a billboard that says, hey, if you're thinking about buying or selling, then you should call me. Well, that's great, but I see a lot of people saying the same thing. And maybe I'm thinking about buying or selling, maybe I'm not. But nothing resonates to say, oh my gosh, I feel what you feel. I'm connecting with you. And so what I like is something called an evidence of success postcard. Now, this can be a written postcard. This can be a video that you email out or post on social media. This can be a post on social media, a written post on social media, a combination of all of them. But an evidence of success postcard is talking about a story, talking about something that they can see themselves in. And I'll tell you, I'm on a lot of realtors email lists. I actually got a good one yesterday from a realtor in the Lodi market, where that realtor sent an email and it was titled, hey, John, although, they sent it to a whole bunch of people, but it said, hey, John, I'm sure you're like a lot of people and you're traveling on vacation this summer. And I don't know about you, but oftentimes when I'm traveling for vacation, my spouse and I talk about, man, wouldn't it be great to just own a place up here? Whatever that favorite place is that you're going with the family for vacation, I'm sure you've dreamt like I have about how awesome it would be to own a house up here and be able to visit more regularly than just once a year. Well, hey, if that's you and you've been thinking this summer as you're traveling to your favorite summering spot that you want to own a house in this market, give me a call. I may or may not be local to that market, but if I'm not, I can connect you to somebody there who can take great care of you. And as always, I'm going to watch your back and make sure that you're well taken care of through this transaction. I thought that was a beautiful marketing piece because that's what I'm talking about. You're telling a story. It's the first time in years that I have seen a real estate agent use storytelling in their marketing in that way. And I learned this 2018 to 20 years ago. I was part of a coaching company called Buy Referral Only, and they taught this at that time. And a few of the tactics I'm going to talk to you about today came from Buy Referral Only and what I learned back then. Because in today's market, I am convinced that we have to go back to old school marketing techniques. Now we can modify those, we can adjust them to fit into the new world we're in, the social media world, the marketing that is done digitally, the way that we're doing it right now. We can absolutely make that part of our messaging, and we can make that the medium that we deliver. But I'm actually starting with, let's just do it the old way. Let's do it the way I used to do it. And then over time, let's iterate, let's implement, and then iterate. Because I know I get stuck with paralysis by analysis and I start thinking too much about something and I never, ever do it. And so I am much better off knowing myself. I need to implement something, figure out, hey, let's just do it. And then let's iterate and make it better. So I want you to think about what are some stories that you can be telling. Maybe it's a story about a client that you helped recently that didn't think they could buy a home. Maybe it's somebody who thought, you know what, I've been waiting to save up 20% to buy a home. And just and when they learned that they are loan programs with as little as 5% down, and the payment isn't significantly higher, and it really helps them save compared to what they're spending on rent and on storage facilities and on commute and all of these other pieces. And they learned that they can buy a home and it was going to work out for them. And if you're in that situation, give me a call. It's the point of this evidence of success postcard is to get them thinking of themselves or somebody they know that fits the mold of what you painted. And it's the exact opposite to what you would likely be thinking is appropriate marketing. Most people, most marketers, most realtors, they want to send as broad of a message as possible because they want to reach everybody. I don't want to alienate somebody. I don't want to talk about a client who has a newborn baby that needed to buy a bigger home to fit their baby, because now I'm alienating my clients that are 70 years old and need to downsize. Well, there isn't just one message you're going to send and be done with it. Send a different message every month. So this month you're going to send about the newborn baby and how you were able to get their house and get them in there before the delivery date so that they had time to paint the room and get the crib set up before they came home with their newborn. And then next month, send something about how you were able to help a client that had just retired and realized that, man, with inflation the way that it is, I need to think about how I can lower my house payments. And I showed them how they could use a reverse mortgage to buy a home and have no house payments. And they were able to enjoy they were able to get settled into their retirement with the peace of mind that they're never going to have a house payment again. Do you or anyone else you know who's in that position, please don't hesitate to refer them to me. That's what you want to do, is to send multiple messages over time that are targeted. Don't try and spray and pray. Don't try and capture everybody, because when you try and capture everybody, you actually capture nobody. Critical to understand. You have to focus on, they need to see themselves in your marketing, and then they'll raise their hand and say, oh my gosh, that's me, and you get me. I need to work with you. That separates you, that differentiates you from your competition, and that's critical. The second thing about marketing to past clients is just get on the phone. Call your past clients. Explain to them what I said earlier about now being the time to get contingent offers accepted, because once rates start coming back down, sellers are going to have lots of choices. And it's funny because a lot of sellers, as a seller, want to be contingent buying their next home, but they don't want to accept a contingent offer. It's the ultimate double standard. I wish somebody would accept my contingent offer. Okay, well, will you accept somebody else's? Well, no, because I don't want to be waiting for them to sell their home. That's why nobody's accepting your contingent offer. Today is the opportunity for those people to take advantage of this, because they couldn't do it over the last 2 years. And I personally think they're going to have a hard time doing it once we get out of this cycle. The question is, when do we get out of this cycle? I don't know. It could be 6 months. It could be 2.5 years. I feel like it's something within that time frame. I think economic cycles are moving faster. They're becoming more volatile right now, but they're shrinking. The time frame that things are moving up and down are shrinking. And I think we're going to see a lot of volatility in a short amount of time. The other thing is, call the past clients and let them know that, hey, it's a great time for your family members that are first-time home buyers to buy a home. So get that message out there. Even though they own a home, they have kids, they have cousins, they have grandparents and aunts and uncles that need to buy a home. And a first-time home buyer, especially those with small down payments or no down payments, now is absolutely the time to make it happen. All right. So let's talk about marketing to new clients. I want to give you some ideas on lead generation to get people that don't know you yet. So this is critical because your past clients, they already know you, like you, and trust you, and you're trying to get them to come back to you. And you're also trying to get them to refer other people to you. But this, you can't have past clients only. You need to find new blood. You got to find new business, new people that you haven't done business with. And so you have to think about, what rocks am I picking up? What am I doing to generate activity with people that don't already know me? I know a lot of agents right now are doing open houses. I have seen more open houses over the last couple of months than I've seen in years. I think it's a great opportunity, but I'm also a little bit concerned that everybody's putting their eggs in that basket. because these buyers that are out looking right now, there aren't as many that are visiting open houses, and they're hitting a whole bunch of them because there's so many. So you need to figure out, how do I stand out? How do I look different? Because yes, you can get some buyers off of open houses. I'm not disputing that at all. But the question is, what are you doing to differentiate yourself during the open house process? And how are you using that open house to generate other business opportunities? And that's really what I want to talk about. So the first thing I want to talk about is direct mail postcards. This is pulling a farm list from a title company and mailing to that farm. And I want to give you two specific ideas of something to mail to. The first one is pull a title report of homes that are owned by large Wall Street firms. I use BlackRock as an example. There's lots of large companies who have purchased large blocks of homes and they're renting them out. And from what I'm understanding, they are the most challenging landlord. Like, they are in it for the dollar. They're at the top of the market. They're not doing any, I mean, I don't want to call them slumlords. I don't mean to imply that. This is being recorded and will be put on YouTube, so I didn't say that. But they're not humans. That's really horrible, but it's true. They're not humans. They're a company. They don't have compassion for their tenants. This is a business, and they're trying to earn $1, and they bought these homes and they want to get as much money as they can out of these homes. Those people are paying a premium in rents and are ripe for the picking in talking to them about buying a home, becoming a homeowner, not having to worry about the annual significant rent increases that you've been seeing and will continue to see, because those landlords don't have compassion. Okay, so that's a huge opportunity. You can work with your title company account rep, because they can pull lists, and these owners, the ones that I've seen, all of them have a similarity in their ownership name. It's, the BlackRock XYZ fund, 2018. And they can sort them, and they can find groups of homes in your town that are owned by these large companies. And that's what you're looking for, is multiple homes owned by the same company. That's a good target audience, because they're definitely tenants who are living in those properties, and they're not very well taken care of. The second one, for similar reasons, luxury apartment complexes. People who are living in luxury apartment complexes. Now, don't go posting them on the door. Don't go putting flyers on the windshield at a luxury apartment complex. That's the fastest way to get the landlord to start, chasing you down and beating you up. But you can do it by mail. You're legally allowed to mail anything that you want. So you can mail out to them and send an evidence of success postcard about somebody who used to live in an apartment paying $2,500 a month in rent. Well, guess what? Your research told you that this average apartment in this market is spending $2,500 a month in rent. And you showed them how they can own a home with little money out of pocket, and they can get a nice home in this neighborhood for about $3,200 a month as a house payment. And here's something critical that I think we should add into our talking points to buyers, which is, when you buy a home, the moment you buy it is typically the most expensive payment you're ever going to have. House payments go down over time. Inflation causes rents to go up. Rents do drop, but they rarely do. So when you rent, you can expect your rent payment over time to continue to increase. Your decision is, hey, if I jump off of being a renter today and I become a homeowner today, the amount of money that I am spending might go up. I might go from $2,500 a month in rent to $3,250 a month on a house payment. But 10 years from now, my $2,500 rent will probably be $3,500. And my $3,250 house payment that included mortgage insurance and was at a 5.5% interest rate is now $2,250, because I got rid of the mortgage insurance and I locked in at a 2.99 rate in 2026 when they fell to 2.99. By the way, that's not a real prediction. Please don't write that down. But the theory is that interest rates ebb and flow. When rates go up, you don't have to refi. You get to keep your low rate. But when rates go down, you get to lock at a lower rate. Then rates go up and you stay where you were. And rates go lower and then you get to lock at that lower rate. So owning a home is most expensive the moment you become a homeowner. Now, you're going to tell me, John, that's not true, because if I move from my modest starter home to a luxury home, I'm going to pay more per month. Yes, obviously you are. But your payment per dollar of purchase price, it's going to go down. That's a choice you made. You didn't have to move to the luxury home. But the fact is, your expenses for home ownership are most expensive at the beginning, and that over time, now I know housing, property taxes go up, insurance goes up, but the reality is your interest rate goes down. You can refinance again to a longer term if you needed to. And for a lot of people who are trying to become homeowners, they're going to have small down payments. That means they have mortgage insurance. And that mortgage insurance is anywhere from $200 to $400 a month, that over time that will go away. So you've got to help people understand, if you can deal with the short-term pain, you're going to get the long-term gain. And now is the absolute best time to make that happen. The next thing I want to talk about is partnering with insurance companies. So most of us have a favorite insurance agent. Get with your insurance agent. You send them a lot of business. Every person you have that buys a home says, well, who should I use for insurance? And you say, oh my gosh, go use Mary Jo down the street. She's amazing. Now is your opportunity to capitalize on that relationship with the business you sent to Mary Jo, because insurance agents have a book of business of renters policies. Now, people don't have to have rental insurance when they are renting a home. So the fact that they're choosing to pay money to insure their rents, not insure their rent, they insure their rental property, insure their goods, their property, means that they're of a higher financial mindset. That helps to say, hey, these people are more inclined to understand the importance of long-term value. So you already have a subsegment of the population, because there's a lot of people who don't buy renters insurance. It's not mandatory. So the ones that did, those people are already thinking about long-term protection, long-term goals, money. Those things are important to them, and they understand why they're important. So that makes it a really, really well-defined group of people to go after. And you target market them. Maybe use an evidence of success postcard. Maybe you use emails. Maybe you use a call night, and you call those people with your insurance agent, and you work the list of their rental policy holders, with the goal of getting them to attend a first-time home buyer seminar. The truth is, I did lots of first-time home buyer seminars between 2003 and 2010. And I got a lot of business out of them. And for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to share with you a strategy that I use to drive the business to those seminars. And I use those seminars with a great amount of success to generate business with people that I'm doing business with through this day. But you've got to figure out, how are you getting people to those seminars? And in the past, it was a matter of, hey, where are we going to hold the event? What's it going to cost and who's paying for it? Guess what? Today, you can do exactly what I'm doing. You can do it as an online first-time home buyer seminar. It makes the threat to somebody even lower. Hey, I can join online. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to be harassed by somebody forcing me to talk to them about why I should or shouldn't own a home. There's a lot of it's non-threatening to do it online. So it's a great opportunity, and the barrier for you in planning and in cost and in setup is really, really low. You have very little you need to do in order to set up this first-time home buyer seminar. So I think using first-time home buyer seminars is a great marketing tool in today's market. And I think partnering with an insurance agent, a lender, to chase the insurance agent's rental properties are great. And the hook for the insurance agent is simple. Insurance agents make more money on homeowners policies than rental policies. So you're helping to convert their renters into homeowners. And when they become homeowners, they're going to stay with that same insurance agent. They're just going to upgrade from a rental policy to a homeowner policy. And so it's a win-win for everybody. So it's a great opportunity to chase business there. I want to talk about a completely separate thing. This is something some of you will fall in love with. Some of you will say, John, you're crazy. That will never work. And I'm okay with that. I don't really care. This is something I was taught 20 years ago, and I used it a lot. And it worked for me very, very well. And I'm in the process of recreating it right now. So I'm not ready to roll it out. I was hoping, I ran into some technology issues, but I'm hoping to have it rolled out in the next week or two. But I want to explain to you how this works. And it's really under the premise or the thinking of what I've been taught to be called potato chip marketing. And potato chip marketing is really this. It is how you would go about getting a squirrel to eat a potato chip out of your hand. So let's pretend you're sitting on a park bench and there's a squirrel in a tree across the way. And you said, hey, I want to get that squirrel over there to eat this potato chip. So obviously the best thing to do is to put the potato chip in your hand and then scream out, hey, if there's any squirrels looking to eat a potato chip, come on over here. There's a potato chip right in my hand that you can eat. By the way, that's kind of the marketing that we do on a regular basis. Hey, anybody looking to buy or sell a home, come on over here. I got a home in my hand. You can eat this potato chip right here. People feel very threatened. People don't want to pick up the phone and call you because they're afraid they're going to be sold to. Nobody wants to be sold to. And so that marketing only works for the people that are absolutely committed to doing something. That's great, but we really need to create a funnel. We need to get people a little bit closer. And so how do you get that chipmunk or that squirrel to eat out of your hand? You go put the potato chip at the bottom of the tree and you put it there every day for a week. And then for the next week, you put the potato chip halfway between the tree and the bench. The week after that, you put it on the ground next to your foot every day for a week. Then finally, you put it on the bench next to you for a week. And then finally, you put it in your hand. And they will absolutely eat out of your hand because it was non-threatening. They got one step closer and they realized, oh my gosh, I didn't die. Oh my gosh, that person didn't grab me and put me in a cage and take me home to the little boy Timmy who ripped out my ears. That's what they're afraid of. And so, sorry, a little graphic, but that's what they're afraid of. And so that's what people are afraid of. We all are afraid. You walk onto a car lot. I'm sorry, but if you walked onto a car lot to look at new cars, there's a pretty good chance you want to buy a car. But what's the first thing you say when somebody comes up? Oh, no, I'm just looking. Thank you. Because you don't want to be sold to. And that applies in our marketing. And so what we want to do is we want to give out free information with limited human interaction. We want to filter out those that don't qualify. And we want to build trust and relationship with scale, something that you can do with a lot of people at the same time. And here's the hook. The hook is 0 down payments. Everybody enjoys a free lunch. Everybody, even those who can afford their lunch. As a matter of fact, those who can afford their lunch like the free lunch even more. I've heard stories we all hear about, at the Oscars and the swag bags. Like these people can buy their own swag. They make a boatload of money, but they love their free swag. They want their free swag. And so people like something for free. People also know there's no such thing as something for free, and they know there's a catch. And so we got to walk that line very carefully. 0 down payment was what I used 20 years ago, very successfully for 6 or 7 years. And it's what I'm about to start using. And it's entirely your choice whether you want to join me on this ride or not. So here's the steps of the process. We give them a video or an audio recording to listen to. So I'm creating about a 5-minute recording. And it's going to go I'm not going to give you 5 minutes. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. It's going to be, hey, thank you for calling our first-time home buyer hotline, where we offer 0 down payment loans to home buyers in our community. Currently, we have 35 homes listed on the market that would be able to qualify for 0 down payment, ranging in price between $400,000 and $650,000. The average person that qualifies for these programs makes at least $75,000 in annual family income, has a credit score of at least 660, and pays at least $2,500 a month in rents. Now, why did I say those last 3 things? I'm off of the little message here. I said those 3 things because I'm trying to qualify them. Thank you, Athena. I love the idea too. So I'm trying to get the people to say, ooh, that's not me. I'm going to add, hey, they've typically been on their job for at least 2 years. Now, do you have to be on your job for 2 years to buy a home? No, but the bait that I'm putting out says 0 down payment. That means that, we're going to get your downtrodden. We're going to get your broke people. We're going to get your people that have no money at all and can't rub 2 pennies together. Well, they're not going to be able to buy a home. We're going to get the guy that just got a job at Uber yesterday, but he's got a job. And so what I'm trying to do is to get 1,000 people to listen to this message and get 50 to say, yeah, that's me. I'm cool with that. And out of those 50, 30 of them show up to a seminar. And out of the 30 that show up to a seminar, 10 of them apply and are qualified and shop for a home. And 5 of those that shop for a home buy. I just got 5 new buyers, but I got started with 1,000. Now, those aren't exact statistics. I'm giving you the concept. The idea is create a funnel, get a lot of people listening and get a majority of them to say, oh no, that's not me. And the key is we don't chase the people that didn't get to the end of the 5 minutes, because they either heard something during that 5 minutes that says, you know what, that's not me, it doesn't work for me. Or the truth is they're not committed enough to spend 5 minutes figuring out what the next steps are and how it works. So we leave the next step until the end of the 5 minutes. So in the beginning, I say this message is about 5 minutes long. When we get to the end of the 5 minutes, we'll explain to you how to proceed with this process so that you can find out if getting a home for zero down is the right thing for you. So I've told them in the beginning, you got to commit to me 5 minutes in order to get to the end and find out what the next step is. And if they don't get to the end and they don't follow the instructions, we don't chase them, because that's super frustrating for us if we're going to continue to try and chase people that don't want to do business with us. And so what we're doing is when they're listening, when they get to the end, they're going to have a choice. And the choice is going to say, if this sounds appealing to you and you'd like to get some questions answered right now, press 1 and you'll be connected directly to us. If they press 1, it will ring my cell phone and yours at the exact same time. Whoever picks up first wins. Doesn't really matter. And then you're going to get a text message that says, hey, somebody called in on your hotline. And I'll explain to you what I mean by your hotline in a second. Somebody called in on your hotline and they were connected to one of you. Well, if it wasn't you, then it was me. So then I'll follow up and let you know, and you know, how did that conversation go? What happened, et cetera. They'll also have an option to get information about our next home buyer webinar. So, hey, press 2 to hear about when our next home buyer webinar is and to leave a message to be added to the registration for that webinar. Or we can offer them a free personalized rent versus own calculation. And the way the rent versus own calculator works is it's a very simple breakdown. And all they tell me is, hey, how much am I paying in rent right now? They're paying $2,500 in rent. Okay, well, you can buy a $500,000 home and it's going to cost you $3,500. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, John, you're on crack. I can't afford $3,500. Okay, but you're going to get a bigger tax write-off, because as a homeowner, you get a bigger tax break than you do as just a renter. This is your flat standard tax, or your standard tax break. And this is the tax break you're going to get by being a homeowner. And on top of that, you're putting money in your pocket as principal paid down. Because when you're a renter, you're not paying down any principal. You're not saving any money. It's a forced savings account. So really, your $2,500 a month in rent is about $2,300 after you account for your tax benefit. But your $3,500 house payment is about $2,450. It's only $150 a month more to have a $3,500 house payment after you account for the tax benefit and the forced savings account. And then I might give them a couple other options, like, hey, maybe you want to you put less cash out of pocket because this scenario was going to require you to come in with $38,000. But we could actually get a home for $35 out of pocket. And your net payment this is a $450,000 home. I dropped the price, but your net payment is only $2,368. It's only $100 and some odd dollars, not even $100 more than what you're paying today. Now that's a crazy interest rate of 7%, but it's high because we're using down payment assistance and we're getting a seller credit to help pay for closing costs. But the fact is, the higher your interest rate, the greater your tax benefit. Now, I'm not saying it's a dollar for dollar offset, but people are like, oh my gosh, John, I want the 5.75. These are both the same purchase price, $450. I want the 5.75 instead of the 7%. Well, I agree with you too. But the fact is, when you go to the 7% rate, you get a couple $100 a month extra in a tax write-off because you're paying more money in interest. And the key is you had a lot less cash out of pocket. So there's ways to buy a $450,000 home with $35 out of pocket. And that's one of the things I'll talk about during the 5-minute recording is, hey, we've got some homes you could buy, for example, a $450,000 home for about $35 out of pocket. So don't let a lack of down payment stop you from buying a home. So this is the process that I'm going to be using. Let me explain to you how we get eyeballs in the last 5 minutes. We're going to get eyeballs through, and actually I wasn't clear enough. This is a phone number system. So what this is you are putting a phone number out there with an extension. And so I would say, okay, this is the phone number, extension 101 to 120 belongs to Elizabeth, and 121 to 140 belongs to Carrie, and 141 to 160 belongs to Athena. And so I program it on my side that, hey, if the call comes in and they type 100 and, extension 102, it goes to Elizabeth. What Elizabeth can do is she can say, hey, I actually want to segment these so that I am marketing. I know where my return on investment is going. So I use this 800 number on the back of open house flyers. And I put some kind of a message on the back of my open house flyers that everybody who walks into my open house gets a flyer talking about homes for sale, 0 down payment, call this number for a free recorded message. And when they type in extension 102, you know, oh, that came in from open houses. Now you know that the open house is working compared with, hey, I took some flyers and put them on windshields at Walmart and I got nothing out of it. Or I put flyers on windshields at Walmart and I got 32 phone calls. Let's do that again. So you can track by using extensions and say, you can be granular and say, hey, every open house is going to have a different extension. Hey, John, 20 is not enough. I need 20 more. No problem. I'll give you 20 more. So this is, to be clear, I'm building this from scratch and I'm giving it to you for free because I'm going to get the leads as well. So I'm paying very little for this because I'm paying about 0.5 cent per minute for every minute that somebody is on the phone. So for that 5 minutes that they're on the phone, I'm paying 2.5 cents for that phone call. That was no real cost for me. And I'm paying $1 a minute per phone number and nothing extra for the extensions. But I'm building it myself from scratch to offset that. But that way I can offer it to you for nothing. And that way we're both sharing the leads that are coming in the door. Okay, so that's what I'm building. That's what I'm offering. And the way that it's going to work is really about you getting eyeballs onto that phone number. And so you can use yard signs like the yellow sign that I just showed you in that screen. You can use take one flyers. So this is an example of a take one or a tear off flyer. We've seen these before, gardener, get your home gardening done. And you've got little tear sheets where they've torn down right here and cut right there. So somebody tears off each of these and now you just tear one off and you've got the phone number to call. By the way, if you decide to use something like this, the trick is always tear off the first one. People want something other people have. And so if you tear it off, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, somebody else wanted it. And they're going to walk by and look at it and they're going to take one also. If it's perfect and nothing's been torn off, they're going to think, well, nobody else wants it. Why am I going to? So that's a little secret in doing that. In the 3 minutes I have left, if you have questions, please post them to me in chat and I'll cover them. But I want to spend a little bit more time talking about the eyeballs. You can do this as a public notice, and you can kind of just put a notice like you see on the bulletin board at Panera Bread. And you can literally put public notice if you really want to. That was one of the strategies we did. And you can say 0 down, homes for sale, 0 down payment, free recorded message with your phone number. Post it at the barber shop, post it at the library bulletin board, post it at Panera Bread's bulletin board. If somebody else already posted one there, tear theirs down and put yours up. Don't do that. But that's, put it up somewhere. Go put it in the break room of a business. Especially, you've got a union shop that you've got, 30 people that go sit and take a break at the exact same time, and you can put one up and get permission to put it up in the break room or get somebody who works there to put it up in the break room. There's huge opportunities as people are sitting around staring at the walls. You can give them this information. Put it on the back of your info box flyers. So we've got flyers in front of listings that we put information, and a piece of paper has 2 sides, and most agents I see only print on one side. You have a lot of opportunity to print on the other side of that piece of paper. So put it on the back of info box flyers. To me, this strategy and the way that I explained it is very much the way I did it originally. So our focus was purely on how do we get people. I'm trying to stop sharing my screen. Okay, cool. So the strategy was 100% focused on how do we get people to pick up the phone and call the phone number. Now, one of the things that I'm adding a component where instead of calling, they can text in and they can get a link back to them with a YouTube video to watch. And that way you can watch a video instead of people like that. You can post, once I create the video, you can post the link on social media and you can say, hey, click here. Now, the catch-22 is by having them click through social media, you're not necessarily capturing their phone number, but I'm okay with that because I don't want to know their phone number until they get to the end and want to work with me. I do not plan on calling anybody back that calls in and then doesn't raise their hand and say, I'm interested, because all it is time wasted. This is an autopilot kind of thing. So I'm creating this, I'm giving you the idea, I'm creating the system to track the phone numbers, to connect to you, I'm paying the cost of that. Your job is to get this out there. If you want to do it, if you don't, I'm totally okay with that. But what I'm offering is a way to help you generate business that will come to both of us. So clearly I'll be having the client's information as well. I'll be partnering with you as the lender on this. Your half of the effort is getting these flyers created, buying the signs, doing what you want to do, in how to market it, and then getting eyeballs on this phone number so that they can call your extension and look at you as the expert to help them buy a home with 0 down payment. Gang, I really appreciate your time. I'm right up on the hour, so I want to make sure that I start on time and end on time. If anybody has any questions, feel free to stick around for a minute. If you want to ask verbally, or if you want to put it in chat right now, you can. Otherwise, feel free to put into chat just how amazing you thought this was. I will be putting a recording of this onto my YouTube channel. So if you want to watch it again, my Friday video that I do tomorrow, I will be including a copy of this. So if you want to watch it again or share it with anybody else. And Elizabeth, you raised your hand. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I have a question. And I mean, I know that everyone, as far as if you purchase a home, you have that tax write-off benefit. But now that with the taxes, you can, instead of itemizing, you could use the standard deduction, which has increased. I think it's 24.5 or something like that.
For a married couple,
Which
correct?
is, yeah, for married couple. And now with the prices of homes, of course, it's higher, so they're going to pay more interest. But do we know kind of, or is there a way to figure out approximately where that purchase price would be for them to have that advantage? I don't know if we can do this or not, but anyways, what I'm coming to is, if someone bought a home for 300,000, which a condo basically is all you can get, in which case they would not be able to, and if it's a married couple, would probably not be able to write off those the interest on their taxes. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. So you're asking kind of what is the purchase price where you start being able to do that?
Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, I've gotten that argument before and I'm like, yeah, kind of true. I mean, again, people that have been in their homes for a long time, and if they've got lower balances, you can't write it off. I mean, I don't write it off. I just take the standard deduction as far as that part, because I don't have enough interest in that. Of course, I've got my real estate stuff and all that. That's different. But anyways, you know what I'm saying?
I do. So I have two answers. One is I like to pretend I'm a lot of things, but one thing I don't want to ever pretend to be is a tax guy. So I'm very cautious going down that road. The other thing I'll tell you is, from the tax people I've talked to, we're now at the time where people are starting to see a benefit. Prices are up and interest rates are up. And so your property taxes add to that, interest adds to that. And especially if they have any other write-offs, now they start being able to capitalize on those other write-offs that they couldn't capitalize on before. So it is absolutely a case-by-case basis. I'm running really rough numbers, and I think we're being conservative because I'm giving them credit for what their normal tax deduction is. In my system, I'm using the standard deduction of, if they're single, $12,500, or if they're married, $25,000 a year. And so I'm accounting for that in the system that I use, but I'm still super clear. It's a ballpark. You have to talk to your tax preparer to figure out how much it would actually mean to you.
Right. Because it also, depends on what other deductions they have. Because again, like I said, like myself, because I have a business, it's different. So, okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you,
Sean.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Didn't really give a direct answer.
I didn't. I apologize. I haven't tried to run that calculation, and I'm afraid to. Meaning, I don't want to give something that says, hey, this is what it is, because the more confident we are, the more liable we are in that.
Right. And it all depends, like, what interest rate they have and all of that too. So, I mean, it's hard to say, but.
But I will say this is the first time in 5 years that I've been talking about tax deduction, because housing prices were low, interest rates were low, and it really wasn't a big difference. And what I'm understanding now, and talking to a few tax people I've talked to, is we're starting to see benefits. They might not see it the first year because we're halfway through that year, but the numbers are at a point where we're going to start seeing some pretty sizable tax benefit for home ownership. Obviously, as your interest rate goes down, you refinance, you get rid of mortgage insurance, then you're losing that write-off, but you're also losing the monthly payment that you were paying, and you're net positive. So that's how I look at it, and that's my understanding of the market that we're in.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions? Audrey?
A lot of good info, John. I'd be interested in learning a little bit more about
Okay.
this. Okay.
Love it. Well,
Okay.
we will be reaching out to everyone on the call to see if you guys like it and want to partner or not. No hard feelings if you don't, but I'd love to offer the opportunity to everybody, and I appreciate you letting me know that.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, gang. If there aren't any other questions, we'll let you go, and we will talk to you all soon. Athena, I'll
Thank
get
you
back
so
to you
much.
soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.